Hello children, welcome to social science class. Today in history we are going to revise which is the part given in the Leeds school book. So kindly take out your Leeds school book and take page 40. So already we know about the new kings and kingdoms and the administration. So we revised this in our book. So just we'll go through the things which is given in this and we learn the question answers. So new kings and kingdoms. Many dynasties ruled over the Indian subcontinent between 700 CE and 1400 CE. So here we know that we are learning the medieval part. So the medieval part happened in the year from 700 CE to 4400 CE, isn't it? So here the timeline below shows the time period when the major dynasties ruled. So here is the timeline which is given for you with different colors to show that in which particular period who are the persons ruled over that particular kingdom. It was given there. So these dynasties ruled different regions of the Indian subcontinent at the same time. So here the different regions have been ruled by different persons. So it was given down as a timeline here. So we can check it out. The first, the Cholas. So here it was given in the green color. So the Cholas, from when when they ruled over the dynasty. So from 800 CE to 1100 CE. So here the bronze statue of Nataraja, the most famous subject in Chola bronze work. So this is the main work which has been done by the Cholas from 800 CE to 1100 CE. Then the Gujara Pratiharas. So already we know that. So the Gujara Pratiharas from 800 CE to 1100 CE. So you can see in the same year, but they are from the different regions. They ruled over the particular place. So Telika Mandir at Gwalior is an example of Pratihara, Gujara Pratihara architecture. So you can see the architects. So it will be very unique in those days. And the Palas. So he was also ruling in the same year, but the different region, that is about from 800 CE to 1200 CE. So see the difference. So the Cholas from 800 to 1100. And the Gujara Pratiharas the same year, and the Palas you can see that is about 800 CE to 1200 CE. So what was famous at that particular time? Buddha statue built by the Pallavas, and it was followed by Buddhism. So here they built the Buddha statues who followed the Buddhism. Then the Chahamanas. So the next another ruler, one who ruled at that particular period was the Chahamanas. They ruled from 800 CE to 1400 CE. So here you can see the Asiga fort in Delhi, the palace of the most popular Sahamana ruler. So it was built by Prithviraj Chauhan. So here you can see these are the famous things which has been built at that particular time. So first Cholas, then Gujara Pratiharas, the Palas, the Chahamanas. So these are the persons, these are the rulers who ruled over many dynasties at the same particular periods, isn't it? So each one have their unique development which have been developed at that particular time. So first Cholas about the bronze statue, and Gujara Pratiharas the Telika Mandir. So he built the Telika Mandir as an architect, and then the Palas they built the Buddha statue, and then the Chahamanas they built the Asiga fort in Delhi. So these are the important thing we have to see here. The next one is about the administrative features of new kingdoms. So already we have shown this in the NCERT book. So let us revise that. So here the new dynasties that rose to power between 800 CE and 1400 CE used various ways to rule and manage their kingdoms. So some of these administrative features were, so here it was given. Why? For example, I'll ask you a question. So during these things, who were all ruling from 800 CE to 1400 CE, they used the various ways to rule. Why? and they use the rule to manage their kingdom. Why? Because to raise their empowerment, isn't it? For example, the king one who was ruling at that particular time, what they have to do, they have to improve the finance level, isn't it? And they have to construct so many buildings like temples, forts, like, isn't it? And they even want to fight with each other, isn't it? They have to fight with the other subcontinent, so that they can get all the power from that particular thing, isn't it? So here the new dynasties which rose in between 800 CE to 1400 CE, the rulers used various ways to rule and manage their kingdom. So here we can see that number one, kings shared power with samantas. So we all know who is samantas, isn't it? So kings shared power with samantas, that is various chiefs and associations of producers, traders and brahmanas. So these associations helped in collecting taxes and carried out the developmental work in villages on the orders of the king. So here the king, what they're doing, they started collecting the taxes for various works, for various development, and that purpose, so that as they are collecting the taxes and everything, no, so that they made into purpose of improving the villages, so where the kings was there. So then the resources and taxes were collected from producers, that is about peasants, cattle keepers and artisans, because these three were very well in the thing, because very very rich at that particular time, because this is the starting time. The peasants means it's agriculture, who was doing the agriculture, and cattle keepers, you all know, one who grow the this goat, cow, like that, isn't it? And artisans doing artists, isn't it? So these three person were the very rich at that particular time. So here the king, one who was ruling that particular place, they were collecting the resources and taxes from those producers, and we also learned that was revenue was collected by this person, isn't it? And the resources and taxes thus collected were used for several purposes, which helped in expanding the kingdom and managing it. So we all know that they collected the tax only for the purpose of to change the village and to manage and to expand the kingdom, and they use that for the war, everything they have collected. So since of these purposes are mentioned below, so here you can see they use the taxes and resources for these purposes. For what? Finance the king's palaces and courts. So here they'll finance the thing that is about the king's palaces and courts. Okay, so this is the royal the Chola royal palace at Tanjavur. So if you go to the Tanjavur now also, you can see this royal palace. Okay, then the next one is about to construct the temple and fort. So they use the taxes which they have collected to construct the temple, so to build some new temples and forts. So here this is in the Pattadakal temple, built during 9th century CE. See the year 9th century, but up till now it was strong, because the architecture which they made was very we have to congratulate the architect, one who lived at that particular time, isn't it? So up till now it was very strong. And the next one is about they use these taxes to fight the wars with the other dynasties or other kingdoms. So here this is the Chola army and we're in Malaysia. Okay, so these are the three things they use the taxes resources for. So these kingdoms, one who were living from 800, one who were there for 800 CE to 1400 CE, they started collecting the taxes for these purposes. So here this is a question for you, three questions for you, that is about practice question 5. Who were the different people who paid taxes as resources to the king? So who were the different people who paid taxes as resources to the king? These are the three persons: peasants, cattle keepers and artisans, isn't it? Then list 3 taxes that were imposed on the people in those times. Now take page 18 in your NCERT book. So here you can see there were also taxes on thatching the house. So the use of a ladder to climb palm trees, a cess on cession to family property, etc. So here the taxes were collected. 3 taxes were collected at those times. It is about thatching the house. What do you mean by thatching? A wall which has been built on the top. They'll be building a house with the straw, isn't it? So that is known as thatching the house. So for this purpose also they collected the tax, it seems. Then the use of a ladder to climb palm trees. So they'll be taking the ladder from the kingdom to climb the palm trees. So for that also they paid the tax. And a cess or on succession of to family property. That means a cess means a tax. On succession means continuity to the family property. So continuity, for example, grandfather will be there, after the father will be there. So the continuity of the thing, the tax will be collected from that particular family. So these are the 3 taxes which has been collected on those case. So you can write it from the book. So what are the 3 taxes that were imposed on the people? That is of thatching the house, and another one using a ladder to climb the palm trees, and the cess on succession to family property. For these purposes they maintain the taxes. And the next question is about producers were often persuaded or compelled. Persuaded means without any thing, they are compelled to pay that. They'll get the tax. That is known as persuaded or compelled. So here the producers were often persuaded or compelled to surrender a part of their produce. So what do you think that is? It is mean by persuaded or compelled in the sentence? Why makes you think so? For example, here I told you the producers, the resources and taxes were collected from producers. Who are the producers? Peasants, kettle keepers and artisans. I told you those 3 were very rich in those days. So what they'll do, they are compelled to pay the tax for their producers, isn't it? So why does I told you what makes you think so? What makes you think so? Because they are rich at that particular time, so they are compelled to give the part. That means they are compelled to pay the tax for the particular thing. Did you get me? So here these are the 3 questions. You have to write the answers for that. I have explained it, so just write it in the note. Then another one, take out your NCERT book and kindly take page 28. So let us recall the book back questions. So that is about the match the following. Gujarat Pratiharas. So where it was Gujarat Pratiharas was Gujarat was ruling over Gujarat and Rajasthan, and Rashtrakutas, they were ruling over Western Deccan, isn't it? And the Palas, they were ruling over Bengal, and the Cholas, Tamil Nadu, isn't it? So kindly match this. Put the number 2, 3, 1 and 4 in your book and you can learn that. Then who were the parties involved in the tripartite struggle? Tripartite struggle. So who were the 3 parties? So as we learned now, Gujarat Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and the Palas. So these 3 were the parties who were involved in the tripartite struggle. So we all know that, isn't it? So what do you mean by tripartite? What do you mean by tripartite? Tri means 3, parted means different part, isn't it? So these 3 were fighting for the one thing. So these 3 were fighting for one particular kingdom. So they were known as tripartite struggle. Okay. Then what were the 2 major cities under the control of the Chahamanas? So we know what were the 2 major cities? Delhi and Ajmer. Then how did the Rashtrakutas become powerful? So we all know that. I have already given notes for you to learn. So here you can see the Rashtrakutas are the example of Samantas. Initially they were not rulers, isn't it? And they were subordinate to the Chalukyas of Karnataka. So here I told you they were all subordinate, means they were under Chalukyas. So in the mid-8th century, Danti Durga, a Rashtrakuta, Rashtrakuta chef overthrew the role of Chalukya. So here what he did, the Danti Durga, a Rashtrakuta chef, he overthrew the rule of Chalukya and he was there as a king. So here the Danti Durga, after that what he is doing, he is performing a ritual practice. So what it is named as Hiranya Garbha. So Hiranya Garbha means it's a golden womb. So why this happened? So here why they are doing this ritual practice, because the Danti Durga thinks that when we do the ritual practice named as Hiranya Garbha, will become a Kshatriya by birth. So this is the main reason they perform the ritual practice named as Hiranya Garbha. And after this ritual, what will happen? They'll reborn as a Kshatriya. So this is the main thing. They did the puja like Hiranya Garbha. So these are the explanation about the Rashtrakutas. So just I'll post these answers in your Google Classroom. Just learn it and just learn and write twice and send it to me as your homework in the Google Classroom. Thank you, dear children.